it, fellas. Look here. Sci-Fi.
One for C-Lab, two for Joy Eagle, three for Wolverine to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Broadcasting live from inside the Power Band, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, the Wolverine, along with Jarhigo.
Yeah, hey.
And C-Lab forever.
Yo.
And this week, we're coming to you live from the Forbidden Planet. That's right, folks. This week, our final episode of our Down and Dirty Sci-Fi Month concludes with the 1950s classic Forbidden Planet, starring Walter Pidgeon and Leslie Nielsen, not with white hair. Let's start the show.
Had you ever seen this before, Mulvey?
No.
Yeah, same. This was a delightful little jaunt. I'm not really normally into old school, super old school sci-fi, but I dug it. I enjoyed watching it. It was kind of quirky and delightful, and I totally get the appeal.
I'm stoked to talk about this movie, dude. It takes doing something like this to force me to watch something like this that I normally wouldn't sort of voluntarily watch, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad that I did, because this movie now, in my opinion, is with the original Time Machine. Now, I'm a fan of the 2000s Time Machine with Guy Pearce because I love Guy Pearce, but the original I had seen as well, and I was blown away when I saw that, because that was made in like 63, I think, and I was very impressed with the special effects in that, and how good it was, and how great it held up when I watched it in the, I don't know, it was either the 90s or the 2000s. So this was delightful to watch. I thought it was excellent. I really did. I thought it was great. And I was really impressed with what they were able to do with what they had at the time. And I'll just leave it at that for now.
Nice. It sounded like this one was kind of semi-legendary for you, Benny. What was the impetus for recommending it?
It's not legendary for me, but it kept popping up on, greatest sci-fi movies of all time lists, etc.
Sure.
And, I had seen bits and pieces of it here and there, and I knew Leslie Nielsen was in it. And, I think I saw it when I was really little, like maybe it was on in between Creature Double Feature or something, like back in the day. I remember like seeing the creature trying to bust through the gate and then firing at it. Like I distinctly remember that. But anyways, I haven't seen it in years. I really didn't remember anything about it. And much like you said, Kev, just getting to do it for something like, forcing yourself to watch it for something like this, where like otherwise you'd kind of like keep going like, another time, sort of, yeah. Anyways, got me to watch it, and it's cool. It's kind of like watching a feature-length Star Trek original series episode or something. It's got like a really similar kind of vibe. Yeah.
Great answer, man. It's I don't know. Like there was, I did a little bit of reading about it, and they were saying there's a lot of comparisons to William Shakespeare's The Tempest, and
it is based on that.
Okay, fair enough, but I don't know. I get sort of tired of Shakespearean comparisons, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm just burned out on it. Regardless of that, I think it was just really, really excellent, man. Production values were very high. Now, this movie cost like $1.6 million to make, which at the time is a lot of money. And I can recall like a few 80s movies that we've done where I bothered to look at the budget, and it was not much more than this, man. Like maybe $3 million or something like that. So it's an impressively large amount of money for a science fiction movie in a time where science fiction was kind of regarded as like, B-roll garbage, And it was really cool that they put the time and energy into the script, man, and then into the production itself, because the result is excellent, man. And I just, they came up with a lot of really clever ways, and maybe this is like a good place to kind of stick for a second, is like on the special effects, like some really clever ways to do things that they just didn't have the means or the technology to do, because obviously, people weren't really working with miniatures then, certainly not to any great effect. And there was no CGI, obviously. So, like I think most notably, like the sort of the shield that he created for his little, atrium room there, was just basically, stopping the camera, adding in the panel, starting the camera, stopping the camera, like just simple little things like that. But it came, it had a cool effect, man. It worked, it was interesting and cool, man. Like the blasters were cool too, I just thought the effects were really good, man. I was really, really impressed. I was like, I couldn't believe this was like 1956,
Yeah. Yeah, the blasters and the monster, I suppose maybe more in particular the monster, but were really interesting. And I imagine you guys saw this too, but it was what animator they borrowed from Disney. So like one of the dudes that worked on Fantasia and stuff. So evidently like a super legendary animator who had his own distinct style. And I just love the idea of, a studio head calling up Disney and being like, yo, can we borrow one of your dudes? And the guy comes over. And he's got that pedigree, like he was like an animator on Cinderella, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and to great effect too, because the monster, and I'm assuming you're talking about the one that they were sort of blasting with
the
all
red,
the guns
the red outline one.
Yeah, that was just so well done, man. Like I was super impressed when it like reached out and like lashed at that one guy, and then it picked that other guy up. Like it looked really good, man. Like
totally,
almost like contemporary good, So. Kudos, man, and it was like, it even had like form and really cool fluid movement, and it had like a pretty distinct almost face, so and then I kind of got that. I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a tiger, and then I kind of put it together that it was like what the girl was thinking about, but it was just really well done, man. I was really, really impressed. I was impressed by the blasters too, man, like
yeah, that was him too.
For like a non-pew-pew laser having sort of era, like those are some pew-pew freaking pew-pews, man. You know what I mean? Like there was no pew-pew in those pew-pews, but it was still pew-pew, dude. No question.
It was
about
it was like a proto pew-pew.
Yeah, it was. There you go, proto pew-pew, man.
The effect was definitely better than the. You can tell that like nobody had seen anything like this before. So like the actors on screen are just kind of like aiming weirdly, like they sort of like have this like bizarre expressions on their faces, like because there's nothing for them to like react to or aim at or any of that stuff. So like it's just kind of like that's like I don't know. It just struck me as funny. Like they're just like firing and they're just kind of like.
Yeah,
totally.
I was like pew 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 pew.
I mean, this must have been, one of the first films where actors were really. I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know, but it seemed like it was, one of the first, or at the beginning of. Okay, we're going to add effects in here. They're going to look like X, right? And then you're going to need to imagine what that is, because I think up until now. Even if you were doing, from an acting perspective, like even if you were doing a film, like you were still working with sets, right? So that's very similar to theater because, it's like everybody's coming from like a theater mindset and a film mindset where you're working with like actual physical sets, things that are tangible that you can touch and react to, right? Because that's so much of what acting is, So I noticed the weird expressions, and I was like, clearly. These guys haven't worked with effects before, you know what I mean? Because they had that ho-hum kind of like, what's going on here? Like it almost looked like they were on a break, you know what I mean?
Yeah, smoke break, exactly.
And they were like, just keep it rolling. They'll never know the difference, you know what I mean? So
meanwhile, it's like the fucking monster's going to come and annihilate them and all just standing around.
Yeah, exactly, man. So, I don't know. It was really... I mean, aside from that one thing, like all the effects shots and scenes were like really good, man.
Mm-hmm.
The whole like the energy fence that they created to hold back the monster, and just, even like the batteries. The gun batteries on the ships were pretty cool. Like there's a lot of really cool props. Like the costuming was really excellent too, man. Like
definitely
the
proto
guns,
Star Trek.
Like definitely proto Star Trek, but like. the guns were cool. Like their gear belts were cool with like, cool, interesting stuff. And like the way they even did like the comms thing was very cool, with the little sort of not pen size, a little thicker than a pen, more like a marker almost, you know what I mean? But it was like, it was still small and svelte, and he could just like grab it off his belt and like, start talking. It worked really well, man. It was good.
Yeah, there was tons of cool gadgets.
Yeah, absolutely, man. My favorite of which being the pole Vader, which was in the very beginning.
Oh, yeah,
this guy just like he grabs onto the pole, and I was like, why is he holding onto that pole? And then all of a sudden it's like, zzz, and he goes up to the next level. I was like, sweet, dude.
Yeah,
very cool, man. But kind of going back to the effects, like the the monster coming through the trees, like just the garden itself with like the different colored foliage, the stuff with the animals, like all of that was like impressive, man. Like really, really impressive for 1956, man. And they really put the time in.
Don't know if you saw, but the garden in the back of the Jetsons' house was a borrowed set from the Land of the Munchkins from
Wizard
of Oz. Yeah.
No, I didn't see that, but
I love
I'm not
the
surprised
like
now that
the connective tissue to like 50s era cinema. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool, man. Very cool.
I've never really been into like super retro sci-fi. I don't know. I guess I was very much the like kid who wanted the best graphics on the video game. It was just like fucking whatever Atari. It's all about Nintendo now. Not appreciating the classics.
I feel like that's natural. Like I was the same way. Like I was not interested. Like once Star Wars came out and the Star Trek movies, it was just like I'm not interested in anything that looks old. Yeah. Like no way. So for me growing up, it was never going to happen, man. There was no way I was going to watch a film like this or Time Machine and be able to appreciate it.
Yeah, you're at the teenage age where you're like carving your own path.
I definitely preferred the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I feel like that was meant for you to respond to.
Oh, what? Chad's dumb comment? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, that's all good.
I definitely preferred, like the more modern stuff.
Yeah,
growing up, but like when I was really little, I definitely had kind of like a soft spot for this kind of stuff. Like,
totally.
Even stuff like the Godzilla movies and like
20,000 Leagues, maybe.
Oh, yeah, like or even like OG Lost in Space, that kind of stuff. Like, yeah.
I definitely liked the Godzilla movies when I was a kid, but I don't know why those held their own sort of special place, because talk about cheesy, man. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
So terribly cheesy, dude. But Lost in Space, no, I would never watch anything like that. I don't know. I think, I was more like Chad. I was just like, it was like more graphics, like the next great graphics, until we reached a point like in the 2000s where the graphics became so good, it was just like, now it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, CG's just boring now. Now it's like more practical effects.
Well, that or just like fun, like give me a good story, give me some good gameplay. Like that's really more important than anything.
Yeah. Dude, just on the topic of the elevator pole ship, like, and the settings, it was very, very Jetsons-esque or whatever, kind of futuristic. I love there's a little anecdote where before the thing took place on a completely different star system, it was meant to be like on the planet Mercury in the year 1976, and I just find that so funny.
Yes.
It's like in the 70s.
Yeah, that too.
But the settings were really quirky and fun and funny, but I just really loved the ship in the beginning, and Leslie Nielsen he gets on the horn, he's like, "Attention crew." Like, dinner will be served at 6:30. That's all. And the entire crew is standing around him. Like there's nobody else on the ship except for the guys that are literally standing next to him while he announces it.
They're like right there. He's like, "Hold on, let me get my golden crystal microphone to make an announcement
funny,
here."
Dude.
Yes.
I loved that, dude. It was so just ridiculous. All right, that's all. That is all, everybody. And everyone's like, "Oh, okay." They go pottering around and do their jobs. Fuck, it was great. I don't know about you guys too, but like I actually legit couldn't pay attention for the first like 2 minutes. Like I had to start the movie over because I couldn't pay attention to what Leslie Nielsen was saying because it was Leslie Nielsen. I was just like, holy shit, it's Leslie Nielsen. As like a fucking 20-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
I was just so like thinking about that I couldn't even like comprehend what he was saying.
Yeah, I didn't. I might have had a little teeny bit of trouble starting, but I very quickly got into it, and certainly by the end of this, I was just like I was glued to it, man, because it was like a. And this is the other thing I really liked about it. It was that it was like a psychodrama, man. You know,
very.
You know, I guess really, you know,
bits and stuff.
Yeah, like the Tempest. You know what I mean? So like it just, you know, it was very high concept, man, and it was really, you know, I thought the story was really good. You know, like It was excellent, actually. You know, just the whole idea of like, I'm all about freaking ancient civilization.
Ancient aliens,
you know,
bro.
Like, no, not that.
Shaped like a pyramid.
No,
The door was shaped like a pyramid, bro.
Such a tool. Yes, it's not a secret that I love ancient aliens. However, I am all about like ancient star civilizations. You know, we've encountered that in various, you know, books that, you know, we've read over the years. And like, you know, there's a couple of really cool Star Trek episodes where they, you know, they found some ancient ship and it, you know, turned out to be like 1 million years old, you know, like, I don't know, stuff like that I just find fascinating, man.
Yeah,
you know?
man, no
like,
doubt.
wow. These guys were doing this like 1 million years ago, you know, and the technology is so advanced, you know, I just find that very, very cool. So the idea of a, you know, a race of beings that lived that long ago. And then I guess if I'm thinking about the story right or interpreting it correctly, it was that they all just kind of like melded their consciousness into one thing that resided inside the 7,800 level planetary supercomputer. Am I getting that right?
Sure, yeah. Something along those lines.
Something along those lines, yeah. I don't know how clear it was in particular, but
yeah. All right. It was a little muddy, I guess, but you know, and then the idea of like, you know, Altair and or Altera and Morbius, like their thoughts becoming reality, like I don't know, stuff like that is very cool. That's just cool concept stuff, man. You know, you don't really even see enough of it now, which is great, man, because it's pretty fascinating. You know,
you just totally get the idea that it's like a writer in LA or a couple of writers in LA like stumble across fucking Sigmund Freud shit from like 6 years earlier in 1945, right. And it's like, let's make a movie about it. You know, it's
yeah.
Your daddy issues are actually an alien monster. It's like, all right, sweet, let's do it.
Well, I mean, but that's where cool stuff comes from, man.
Totally,
I mean, like that's how. I mean, if you believe like what Stan Lee describes in Mallrats, like that's how he came up with the characters, man. You know what I mean? Like the Hulk was represented like, you know, the times when he got really, really angry, you know, and it was like all of his rage poured into one, you know, sort of character, you know.
Totally. I
ditto with a bunch of the other characters. Go ahead.
I actually love that we went from Sigmund Freud to Mallrats, and it totally worked. It's like,
right?
Yeah, it's like a high concept psychology thing, you know, like. Yeah, the id. You're like, yeah, and then Stanley and Mallrats. Like, yeah, actually, you're right. It totally works. Yep.
If Stan Lee is to be believed in Mallrats, then
it's fucking great.
Always happy to entertain you.
Yeah, I didn't see the id monster stuff coming, and it totally fit with the 50s.
Nor
setting,
I.
And it was perfect.
Yeah, but really good and well done as well.
Sure. And there's some good comic relief in it. Like I enjoyed, you know, fucking Cookie the cook.
Cookie.
Getting 60 gallons of whiskey.
Oh, dude.
So funny, dude.
I'm surprised he didn't ask for it in nips.
Right?
It was almost a nip. Man. That would have been great. I really, just to stick on Cookie for a second, man, he was, I don't know, like that was one of the things that was like, you know, you're watching it and you're like, okay, this is cool. There's like some, you know, they clearly put a lot of energy into this and time and money, and like the sets are really cool. Costuming is excellent, you know. And then like the cook rolls out. He's got like a typical like Navy, you know, cook's hat on with like a greasy apron, you know, and he's Like, I'm going to go out and find some radishes. Like, whoa, dude.
Hey, robot, do you know where to find any of the good stuff?
Yeah. I will make for you 1,000 8-ounce pints of bourbon.
It's great though, man. Like 5 years after the finishing up, what is 59 or 50? 50,
What?
56.
Sorry?
So it's like 10 years
This
after
came
World
out-
War
yeah.
II, man. Like all these dudes have the fucking, naval ship style understandings of battleships, and it's fucking perfect, dude. It's so funny.
Yeah, no doubt. But
Greasy
I
apron
just
fucking
think,
cooking up snags in the fucking back room for the boys.
yeah, I mean, he could have been at the local diner slinging hash, dude. I mean, that was the funny thing to me, because it was like, there's a lot of really cool, interesting concepts. Like, I was reading that this is the first time that the idea had been proposed in a story of humans traveling faster than light, right? So there's a lot of groundbreaking concepts in this movie, and then you got greasy old Cookie coming in here, and all he's really doing is looking for booze.
I mean, hey.
Booze and radishes, man.
Cookie's like 22 in this movie. At 22, that's all I was looking for, so
Yeah, fair enough.
it's fair enough. And then the three amigos all trying to sexually assault the same random woman who's never met a dude before.
Oh,
Ooh.
Jesus. Yeah.
That was the point in the movie, the period of the movie that I kind of was like, and I started fading from the movie,
Yeah.
So I was like, what is this, man? This is just kind of weird.
It was super weird.
And I mean,
Leslie Nielsen just constantly like, I've got a crew full of 20-something-year-old men who have been in space for 9 months.
387 days.
What do you
They
expect?
all
like-
have massive erections. And then we should have heard some
Mr. November.
He likes it hot.
Chad, do it. I can't do the music part.
So
He
good.
likes it hot.
I was going to propose that one for next week. I don't know if we could pull it off though.
What?
Brain candy.
No, that's the movie we can never do.
Yeah, I know.
That's the forbidden movie. Huh?
Yeah, Anne Francis. I don't know, man. I just the house was just so charming. Like they fly. I mean, this is very play by play, but they fly in, and it's just like, don't land here. It's too dangerous. Like, I'm sorry, sir. I have to land. I've got 75 horny men.
Yeah, right.
They land, and then there's like a fucking dust mite coming across, and it's Robbie the fucking robot, like, come to our Jetsons house and have lunch. It's like, okay.
Oh, wait. Was the dust thing? That was Robbie?
Yeah, that was Robbie driving in at fucking
Oh,
Mach
man.
6.
That means a little
I
space
didn't
truck.
get that. I didn't get that.
Yeah, literally a space trucker.
Yeah. But again, like going back to the effects, like I thought the effects of that were really cool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I was like, wow. I was like watching it. I was like, how did they do that, man? I mean, today you'd be like, oh, well, we know how they did it,
Yeah.
But back then it's like, what?
Yeah, it was great, man. I don't know. The house, it's like 50s kind of futuristic decor, and the dude's like, please, I don't want you to be here, but please come in, let's have lunch together. Robbie makes it all. It's like, okay.
Right.
Don't know what that was, but it was delicious. Thanks, Morbius. It's Morbin time. Meet my daughter. She's never met a man before.
Yeah, that was a weird sort of
She's like, well, I never met a boy, but like when my friends come over, it's really nice. And they're like, huh, friends? Fucking deer prancing, fucking tiger, man. So good, man. This was
You
50s
can't
bullshit.
go out dressed like that. You've got to put some clothes on.
Oh my god, dude! I just
Why do you want me to cover up?
The 50s are so cute and ridiculous.
totally. But I think that, I mean, to kind of dig into the movie a little bit, like, because the story's so good, but when they start getting into that bit of it, which is kind of occupies like this 30 minutes right in the middle of the movie. It's like, I don't know. I feel like they should have just cut that out.
The
Because
romance.
The story was.
You aren't going to get.
Yeah,
you wouldn't get funded back in it. Every goddamn movie had to have a romance. I mean, shit.
I know,
same nowadays.
dude, but fair enough. But I'm saying from just like a pure science fiction standpoint, like a storytelling standpoint, like they should have just cut that out because like the story was already cool and interesting. You know, like it kind of honestly made it creepy and weird.
It totally
certainly
did.
In 2020, certainly in 2023. You know.
But you've mentioned quite a bit. Like, we've all talked about how, like, you know, it's kind of like the Andor thing where the crazy Nazi Empire chick has got like the little toady guy who's trying to get with her, and it's like, as long as it never happens, it works. You know, like I feel like this could have just been like the guys are into the girl, are all into the girl. You know, she's an innocent, beautiful virgin, whatever weird 50s creepy bullshit, but like. Not have it go anywhere, and it would have been fine. You know, like it's just all the like creepy shit that just isn't needed.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Her sexual awakening with Commander Adams. Oh my god,
creepy.
Well, it wasn't enough of an awakening to be something. It just ended up being weird.
Yeah, the tiger jumps on him. He was gonna kill me. I don't understand.
I'm sorry, I had to do that.
I'm sorry, I had to kill your friend. You mentioned firsts, and I definitely didn't. When I was watching it towards the end, I was like, this is totally like the birth of sci-fi. Like, you can see where, you know, Star Trek gets its mojo from, and you could see where a lot of stuff kind of cribbed from this, and I would imagine the success of this did a great job of kind of giving sci-fi a chance to actually be beyond a B-roll thing. And there were a bunch of firsts, like you said, the humans traveling faster than light, first movie ever set on another planet, Robbie the Robot. I mean, the Robbie the Robot we should talk about later.
Oh, yeah.
First movie to ever have an electronic score. Like, there's just so much stuff going on here that was...
I think...
That was really groundbreaking, which is pretty cool.
I think this is the first movie to be nominated for an Academy Award for visual effects, if I'm remembering correctly.
Sci-fi movie? Yeah, I looked up that year, and it lost to the Ten Commandments, which is very 50s. Of course, the Bible movie wins.
Sure.
But, yeah, it was super, super groundbreaking, which high fives for. You know, like, it's delightful on its own, but I love the idea that it kind of was, like, way up the family tree of all the stuff that we love that came later, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's a really good comment.
I was looking at the writer, Irving Block, and his IMDb is great, dude. Like, it just captures how B-movie shit was. All of the movies that he's got: The 30-Foot Bride of Candy Rock, The Atomic Submarine, Monster from Green Hell. It's like, you know, those movies are all Mystery Science Theater 3000 style movies.
Fodder, totally, man. But you know what? That guy, like a guy like that, if he was born in, like, you know, the 70s, man, or whatever, the 60s, he probably would have been like the James Cameron of today.
Yeah, totally, man.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, really prolific kind of science fiction guy. You know, I mean, I don't know. There's, you know, it's kind of funny, like, as a strange sort of side comment, like, there's no. I feel like there's no, and I could be completely off my shit, but I feel like there's no directors that are just science fiction directors. You know what I mean? It's like they all everybody kind of dabbles in everything now, you know? I don't know.
Maybe that seems reasonable.
You know?
Whereas back in the day, it was like a specialty thing.
I don't know, I guess. I just feel like even in our modern era, you know, it's like, yeah, sure, Paul Verhoeven did like RoboCop and Total Recall, but it's not like every movie he made was science fiction. I mean, he did Basic Instinct, for Christ's sake, and that ended up being like a humongous movie.
Sure.
I mean, so was RoboCop and Total Recall, but, you know, totally different genres. You know, I mean, even like, you know, Nolan, he's done a very interesting body of work. I suppose you could say he's kind of a sci-fi fantasy guy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, right? I don't know. Whatever. This guy would have been like the king of it, though. Clearly.
Yeah, like all he wrote was sci-fi, it seems like.
Yeah, so he was that nerd in the basement of his mom's house.
Pretty much.
Clearly. The OG EBD. Whoa, dude.
I don't know any of the other cast, really. I don't really even know Anne Francis.
I don't know either, man. that one guy that was like his second in command, I swear to God, like for most of the movie, I was convinced it was a younger Ben Gazzara. And I was
Sure.
like, because he kind of looks like Ben Gazzara. And I was like, is that Ben Gazzara?
How great would that have been?
JCPenney is coming here because of me.
That's it.
Ask anybody, they'll tell you. So I don't know. He wasn't Ben Gazzara because I finally looked up the cast and I was.
But he's Ben Gazzara in our hearts.
He'll always be Ben Gazzara to me.
Mm-hmm. Leslie Nielsen did a good job, man. He was a charming captain.
I mean, he's Leslie Nielsen. He's Enrico Palazzo, dude. I mean,
I'm just so used to him being silly.
He can do anything.
It's nice to see him not silly, you know?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think I've ever seen him do any serious work, but this was really good, and he did a really, really great job in it, man. He was great as a lead, and he was great at just selling the whole thing, and he definitely took it seriously, man, and gave it 110. There's no question about it, Excellent choice. I couldn't get over the fact that he had not white hair, he had brown hair.
True.
I was like, this is very strange.
But still with the iconic voice.
Yeah, almost unrecognizable. I was like, now I could have sworn Leslie Nielsen was in this, but I'm not sure if that's. And then he started talking, and I was like, that's him.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I had the same thought at the beginning as well.
So what you're saying is it wasn't until he got on the loudspeaker to the crew that you're like, oh, yeah, gotcha, Captain.
Yep.
Now hear this.
Bunch of bombs in the air.
Wasn't until he brought the lapel mic into the latrine that
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. The interior of that flying saucer was so funny, dude. Like entire crew in the one little room around the sphere with the fucking saucer in the middle, and then they all bunk like 2 feet that way, and then there's like the transporter beams like 3 feet to the other side. This is just one giant room with announcements every 3 minutes. Fuck, it was great.
Yeah, you know what? Well, maybe I'll save that for bits and bobs.
We're pretty much there, bro.
Are we?
I don't know. We're kind of bitsing and bobs.
Right.
Bits it out.
All right, let's bits it out.
Rock out with your bobs out. Wash that hot dog.
Rock out with your bobs out. So I think I was really impressed with the, I dug this kind of the transporter pad things, and I like when they went to hyperspace and they got in and they had the effects where they had those beams come down and kind of hold them in place, or whatever. I was like, wow, again, very innovative and cool, man. Not in the execution. I mean, like the effects themselves were cool, but just in the concept, man. You know what I mean? To like have something to hold you in some sort of stasis that would protect you from the rigors of hyperspace. Not that hyperspace is even a real thing, dude. That I heard this.
Right.
There's no measurable metric for it because it's not real. But still, like, based on everything that we know now in 2023, from all these various films, like it was cool to see something like that, man.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, I get that the sort of the main set of the ship was cheesy, but. Again, I kept looking at it through a lens of wonderment, and I was just really impressed with what they were able to do. Like, so as cheesy as the set was, it's like, it was really well done, and there was a lot of detail on everything.
It was delightful.
The main view screen was really good, and just the whole center console area where they kind of operated the ship was just it was just cool, man.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Yeah. Good execution. Yep. Next bit or bob.
You mentioned the transporter, like it was pre-Star Trek and pretty much straight up Star Trek. Like you could clearly see where they got the idea for the transporter beams from that segment.
Yeah.
Right? And kind of cool to see that, Star Trek was cribbing off this, whereas everything in the modern era has been cribbed from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roddenberry definitely said he cribbed from that movie. So,
oh yeah, it says it right here. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. Like I feel like I don't know. It's like the fucking weird animals that like eat their parents when they're born, kind of thing. Like I feel like it's kind of the lineage of sci-fi where everyone builds on top of the ideas of the last, the last round. What about Robbie? We got to talk about Robbie, dude. Robbie's got his own fucking IMDb page. That's how famous Robbie the robot is.
Yeah, what's up with that, man?
I don't really know. It's just a prop.
Like, why is he so? I mean, he's cool, and there's some cool concepts like behind like his abilities and what he can do, but I don't know. I don't know if I really get the appeal there.
Same. He was weird. Maybe it was because it was like the first super, super cool prop that they spent a shitload of money on or something, that they felt they needed to put it in other shows and movies and stuff. I don't know. Like, it was 10% of the fucking budget.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's crazy. It's cool. I guess some Japanese dude made him, and it would have cost $1.3 million in today's dollars. That's how much money they spent on that one robot.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dated but cool.
I definitely think I think my buddy's dad had the poster on the wall at his house when I was like fucking 5 years old, because that movie poster is super iconic. I remember it very, very clearly, of Robbie carrying a damsel.
Like the OG movie poster?
Yeah, the one at the top of the IMDb.
Yeah. Wow, that was a great section on Robbie.
Yeah, I don't know. What else about Robbie?
Well add some
What
more
is he?
to it.
I don't know. Was he cool? I don't know.
That's what we're known for. Deep dives, deep philosophical dives into things.
Or not.
It was interesting the way that he thread into the movie too, where he's just like this super powerful robot, fucking that was very profound. Where Leslie Nielsen's like, whoa man, cool robot, he does all this stuff, and Morbius is like, yeah, don't worry about it, it's child's play. It's like, no man.
Yeah.
You made this sick
really
ass robot,
odd.
and then later you find out it's because he's got like, look at the big brain on Brad, fucking Morbius hooked up to the weird machine that makes him super smart or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just tinkering around and made this robot that spits out lunch.
I'm surprised nobody's made like a, Robbie the Robot brand whiskey.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Yeah, right?
A Robbie the Robot shaped bottle? That would be fucking sweet.
That seems like a foregone conclusion, man, Like, why hasn't that happened yet?
I definitely feel like a little motorized Robbie toy would be pretty cool. Like all those like sweet robotic Optimus Prime toys that are going around.
Yeah, but something that was like, they put a little energy and money into, like, to make it like quality.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a super cool.
Yeah, dude.
Super cool design. Like, I love the little like mechanical things in the glass dome that are popping around. It kind of has like a jukebox kind of vibe in a way, very 50s in that sense.
Very groovy, yes. Very groovy.
Lifts up crazy lead. Like he could knock this house over in a second. Carrying giant lead plates.
Yeah, that was interesting, man.
It was funny, dude. The whiskey bit was the best bit, though.
Yes, the whiskey part was great. And the radishes.
Did you see the bit where the stuntman inside him got fired because he got shit-faced at lunch?
No, I did not know that.
There's this stuntman, Frank Drebin, was responsible for being inside the costume, and then he went and had a 5-martini lunch and fell over and like broke Robbie, and they fucking shit canned him. It was really funny. It's very 50s as well.
Wow.
I'm picturing like a very Don Draper lunch where they all get hammered.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not a good combo.
No. All right. So, where do we want to? How do we want to keep moving? Keep moving towards the end here, or what?
Keep it moving. Yeah, man. I don't know. Go inside the giant cube. That was kind of a twist. I didn't expect the pyramid door, lost civilization, weird laboratory stuff. Like, that was kind of an interesting change to the story.
Wait, what? The underground?
Yeah, where they're like, he's not in here. And then it turns out there's a whole facility. Like you said, the 5,000 level facility or whatever.
7,800.
There you go.
Get it right.
Do you know how fast you were going? 5,000?
7,800.
Like, that was cool and weird. I like how it's just like, yeah, they're pyramid-shaped monsters, but they make labs almost just like us, and we understand what everything is. It's like, okay.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of interesting how, I like the part when he was talking about how, they walked the earth, millions of years ago or thousands of years ago or whatever.
2,000 centuries.
Okay, fine. 2,000 centuries ago. So it made for some interesting kind of lore there.
God forbid you say 200,000. It has to be 2,000 centuries.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a way to say it.
It's a way to say it, dude.
Yep.
20,000 decades. All right, man.
Yep.
Quick, put these glass balls on your forehead. It might melt your brain. Was it one of the crew members did this and he died on the spot? Want to try? Okay.
Oh, with the brain sort of expander, like
Yeah,
the
man.
mind expander machine. Yeah,
Mhm.
That was pretty cool.
Like put the thing on their forehead and some weird fucking floating thing goes up. It's like, oh yeah, you're 17 bleep bloops. I'm 36. It's like, okay.
Yeah, if there's one thing that there was a lot of in this movie, it was bleep bloops.
Oh, there's
man.
no shortage of bleep bloops.
A lot of bleep bloops.
Just not as like, I don't know. They weren't like in the cheesy classic bleep Jesus
Beep,
bleep
beep, beep.
bloop sense that I think that we think of. I think they were definitely more well intentioned, you know. And
There were some in the beginning when they're
purpose and
navigating.
execution.
There was some pretty good bleep
but
bloops in there.
They were still there. They were just, I don't know, sort of better than most bleep bloops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The one random dude coming in with like a giant spiral of copper being like, I took the defibrillator from the Big Rock Flickulator. And
Oh my God, I wrote that down somewhere and I lost it. That
Okay.
line just cracked me up.
It's like, how long is it going to take you? It's like, well, if I skip lunch, you know. You're funny.
We blew out the Friskatronic modulator with the. Yeah, I love that. Like, I imagine early sci-fi was like this in general, but like everything is exposition. You know, like,
no doubt.
Like they just like they try to fucking explain everything that's going on.
Mm.
Whereas you just don't.
You're like, that's cool.
They've realized that people can kind of figure it out on their own now, and
Yeah. You're on a ship. I don't really need to know how it works.
Yeah.
Cannibalized all of the ship to make the antenna to call home. You guys probably would have thought about needing to call home without having to take the ship apart. Be here for 10 days. Flirt with your daughter the whole time.
There you go.
What else we got?
I don't know. Probably,
The id monster. We kind of covered the id monster. Like that was kind of the climax.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. The id monster was definitely a thing for sure.
I did end up seeing that like people were saying this was one of the first kind of horror-esque sci-fi hybrids, and like John Carpenter said it was a huge inspiration for The Thing, which I totally kind of could see that, and I thought it was interesting.
Really? Like
okay.
The Thing wasn't an influence for The Thing?
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought,
biggest influence for The Thing was The Thing.
Well, there was an original.
No, I know.
yeah, but I feel like there
50s
was some vibes
thing.
here that also. I don't know. I'm just saying what he said. He said it was inspiration for him. So cool.
Right on.
Well, Nuggets deaths ratings then. Bah. Word.
Yes, Nuggets. Go for Nuggets.
I got 2 Nuggets. Helen Rose did the costumes for this, or at least the costumes for Anne Francis's character of Altera, and she also designed Elizabeth Taylor's wedding dress and Grace Kelly's gown for her marriage to Prince Rainier, which I just think it's interesting.
Wow.
Interesting kind of like cultural moment, like Grace Kelly's marriage at that time was a huge, like, I don't know, gossipy moment. And I just think it's interesting that like this movie is contemporary with so much stuff that's like feels like kind of old school legendary stuff, like using the set from Wizard of Oz and all just kind of weird, Disney animator stuff coming over and helping. It's just such an interesting period in cinema. So that was kind of an interesting nugget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kev's looking nuggets up right now. There's lots of them.
No. I have a nugget. Okay, so the guy that played Chief Quinn was Oscar Goldman in the Bionic Man TV series, of which I was a huge fan when I was a kid.
That was a little before my time, but I totally remember the show.
But I figured Benny might be able to latch onto that one. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, I did watch it. I don't remember that character.
Oscar Goldman was kind of like the Charlie of, the sort of the Devin Miles of the Bionic Man. He was kind of like his handler that kind of.
But which actor?
Richard Anderson.
Chief Quinn. Richard Anderson.
Richard Anderson. Oh, totally, dude. Totally. He looks
got
familiar.
he's got a very distinct look.
Yeah.
Final nugget, on the bridge of the ship, the time on the wall says 1701, and it was used for Captain Kirk's Enterprise NCC 1701.
Ooh, that is a good one, dude.
That was a cool little Star Trek nugget.
Hey, I will throw out, I mean, we've definitely dropped a lot of nuggets during the course of this, but I will throw out that, I mean, you already said that, actually.
You can repeat my nugget if you want.
Well, I don't know if you said it was the first film. Did you say that it was the first film to use an electronic score?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it, though. It's a really, really interesting sounding score.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they did that because I think electronic music. This is kind of like the super infancy of electronic music. You know what I mean? It's almost like proto electronic music. You know?
Yeah.
But still very cool that they innovated in that way, you know, because it worked well to the film's advantage and to great effect, you know, like the score was good, man, you know.
Sure.
I liked it. I thought it was like, you know, well placed in the movie as well.
Yeah, and they cock-blocked the guys from getting, you know, an Academy Award for it because they weren't in the fucking guild or whatever, which is interesting.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it was interesting. It was like part sound effects, part score.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like they sort of like went together seamlessly. I forget how it was like at the beginning of the movie, it, you know, says, you know, like electronic.
Oh, yeah. What did they say?
You know, like tone palette or something. Like they didn't really describe it as like music. They just described it as like.
Yeah, and that was because they weren't allowed to. They couldn't say score because they were like, it's not a score. You're not in the guild. You have to call it something else. So they called it whatever they called it. It's like, all right, guys. Chill the fuck out, guys.
It's an interesting way to put it.
My final nugget would be that I thought this was interesting that the movie poster, which is pretty iconic, man, was voted number 5 all-time movie posters.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does seem like it was super iconic at the time.
Well, I mean, isn't there a whole like either a chain of stores or something called Forbidden Planet?
Like Hot Topic.
Yeah, but not as lame.
Electronic tonalities, Benny.
There you go.
I was close.
Yeah. I guess they found these two dudes in like a fucking nightclub in Greenwich Village playing really weird shit. And they're like, I want you to come and score my movie. Okay.
Wow, I didn't know this was the film debut of Leslie Nielsen either.
Yeah, it looks like on his
wow.
IMDb had done a bunch of TV before it, but yeah, that's cool. And that is the nugget section.
Well, get ready for a super lame deaths section because here it comes.
Yeah?
Goose egg.
We didn't have any. We had
Really?
one. I ejected on just the movie. That was it. It was the only one I recorded anyway.
Well, then you ejected, so that counts.
I'm aware of that.
But I just mean, like, it would be a travesty if there were no deaths in the show, so I'm glad there's at least one.
Well, it would, yes, but thank you for defining what the deaths are.
I'm here to help.
Hey, you are. You're like Costanza. You're doing a great job. Okay, ratings.
I put this one in between Peanut Insurrection and Return of the King at a 4.5, and I enjoy that. I want to put it above Lord of the Rings, but yeah, it's like a proto sci-fi kind of romp, and it was delightful. And you know, as with most firsts or one of the first breakthroughs, like it's unlikely to hold a candle to some of the bigger and better things that came later, but I definitely enjoyed watching it. So it was definitely worth checking out, and I'm glad that, like you guys, I wouldn't have watched it if it wasn't for this. So I'm glad that I had the chance.
Well said. Benny, what do you got?
I don't know.
Oh, come on now, baby.
You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how to rate this criteria wise because it's old and it's primitive, you know?
Well, okay.
Yes. Okay.
Would you like me to go first?
It's tough. It's definitely tough to do.
Sure. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. What did you rate? What does the algo rate this movie, Chad?
It's a 4.5. Like, I feel like the algo sees it in the way that, like, because it's primitive, it's kind of gonna be limited in its ability. So like 4 is borderline. It's just below good, you know. So like it's good, but like because it's primitive, I just I don't see it getting higher up than some of the other movies, but it's still pretty solid. Like, I still think it's worth checking out if you're a sci-fi head.
I mean, I want
to. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Here's the thing. I want to sort of treat it like it's its own thing. You know, like I'm having trouble thinking of something to compare it to in my head. Certainly for anything at the time, it was really groundbreaking.
It would have been, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And anything else I can think of would be like, you know, original series Star Trek, or like even, you know, Lost in Space, something like that. You know,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say it's like a 7.5.
Nice.
Yeah. See,
whatever the fuck that means.
Okay. Well, I'll maybe my rating will help better define it.
Sure.
Because I think I don't see it that way. Like, I don't see that the primitive nature of it like impedes it in any way. Like, the movie, you know, exists as it is in 1956. This is when the movie came out. So I prefer to and tend to think of films like this like the original Time Machine. You know, like I look at those movies and I say, like, okay, this is what they were able to accomplish then, right? And these movies still hold up, right?
Sure.
Excellent writing, excellent storytelling, great acting, man. And it's like, you know, certainly in the case of the Time Machine, like I was really blown away at how good the effects were, you know, and really in this too, man. You know, the animation with the sort of the energy creature and all the stuff that they did, like there was a lot of groundbreaking stuff that happened here, man. There were firsts, you know, they were doing it first. I mean, there had been plenty of science fiction films, movies before this, but they were all really pretty crappy, as sci-fi was regarded as, you know, basically garbage, you know. So, you know, just based on that, like the amount of time and energy and care they put into this is very apparent when you watch it, man, you know, from the sets to the costuming to all of that stuff, you know. And this isn't the typical like goofy sci-fi schlock that you would see like in the serials, like in the 50s, man. This is definitely something different. This is like the beginning of the next era of sci-fi. You know, this is sort of the proto of what was to come. Like, you know, like the Time Machine that came out like 10 years later. And then, you know, now we're getting into the 70s and we're seeing some really, you know, kind of the beginning of some really interesting stuff coming out. So I don't know. I don't think that the primitive nature of it degrades it in any way. You can't change that, you know? And we've definitely talked about plenty of old movies that we felt have either held up or not held up, you know? And a movie like this and a movie like the original Time Machine definitely hold up, you know? And that says a lot, you know,
Sure.
about the quality of the material. So I'm going to go ahead and rate this a 9.25. Like, this is really, really good, man. I'm glad that I watched this. I'm glad that we were sort of forced to watch it because of doing an episode of the show. And I think it's the perfect ending to our down and dirty January sci-fi month, you know? And I'm really, really glad I had the opportunity to watch it, man, because it was really, really good, you know? And, you know, I mean, Leslie Nielsen making his film debut in this, I mean, that speaks volumes as well, man, you know? So I think it was great. I really, really loved it.
Nice. Word.
And that is that. So, yeah.
Yes. Impassioned.
All right. So, Chad Lab, what are we doing next week?
Next week we're doing Temple of Doom.
Ooh.
Starring Kate Capshaw.
Ooh, the Center for the Detroit Red Wings. Awesome.
I forgot about that.
Super cool. Well, there you have it, folks. Kate Capshaw, Center for the Detroit Red Wings. Next week, right here on the EBD podcast. Thanks for joining us for Forbidden Planet, the sci-fi classic that started it all. And we'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.
And that is going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. If you'd like to support the show, there's a couple of great ways you can do so. You can tell your friends and your family members about the show. And stay tuned next week for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So long for now, folks. You can also rate us and review us wherever you get your podcast Nuggle Muffins. And you can also support us directly on Patreon, patreon.com/EBD podcast, where you will receive a big hug in return. in addition to this wonderful free show. As always, folks, follow us on social media. We use the handle @BBD Podcast, and we spend most of our time on Instagram, so please join in on the fun. Comment, whatever. And that's it. Thanks for joining us for Forbidden Planet. And if you'd like to check out the show notes for this episode, you can do so in your podcast app of choice or at our website, ebd.fm/episodes/191, 193.
One for C-Lab, two for Troy Eagle, three for Wolverine to round out the trio in this episode. Everybody dies.
Beady, beady, beady.
K Capshaw!